All right, I think I got it.
Excellent. All right. So we will call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. First agenda item is review of the minutes from the last meeting. Any comments, thoughts? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve?
All those in favor? Brad, we'll have to do this by roll call. Oh, I second the motion, sorry, I'm bad. If I can. So all those in, any further discussion, all those in favor?
Hey, Cindy? Hi. Oh, okay, so you could hear her.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Dave?
Yes, I already said it.
Okay, no, we didn't hear you. Brad?
Aye.
And then me, aye. So
And I
think that-
typed in the motion. in the
Okay,
chat.
perfect idea. Okay, cool. Next agenda item. Citizens petitions and comments.
So I just wanted to update folks on the trees that have been cut down on 11. I think that might have originally appeared under citizens petitions and comments. I think we've got 8 of the 21 trees, I'm sorry, 13 of the 21 trees down.
Okay,
And so we've got 8 more to take out. I spoke with the director of public works and they're going to be sending a crew over this week to help us grind the stumps out for
Okay.
those trees. Yeah. And then we're just going to have to kind of wait and see how things play out over the next couple of months to figure out what we're going to be able to do for next steps in replacing the trees. And I don't know if Eric wants to add anything to that.
I'm waiting on a quote from Asp1 to remove the other trees, and they
Okay.
started stump grinding today.
Perfect.
So when the citizen shows up and says, you know, you guys are hitting golf balls into my house after you take down the trees, who's responsible for that?
Well, the golf course predated their house. So whether or not there's a tree there or not, I don't think it matters. I mean, they have a residence, right next to a golf course.
I
Right.
totally agree with you, Todd. It just, well, I don't know if we have a liability there or what.
or is it an even bigger sign to tell golfers that if they hit a house that they have to remain responsible for it?
We have a sign that says that right on the first tee. Yeah.
Okay.
So most of the trees that were taken down were on 11, so 8. And then you took the 3 down by 17? Eric?
Correct.
Okay. So the rest of the trees are on 11. Have to come down.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Greg. Any other citizens petitions?
Oh, I was going to suggest that maybe our architect, a golf course designer, might have some say on replacing the trees. Rather than just planting a row of trees. Might have some good ideas.
I know the arborist has given us, when he went through and made an assessment of the trees, he did include some recommendations for species of trees to plant. I don't recall if there was information about how far to space them out, but that would be easy enough to figure out. But he did make a recommendation for the types of trees.
Yeah, just, no arborvitae.
Well, I think they'd be looking at a species that grew to a certain height and expanded out to, but that's the protection that they have now. I don't think any of those homeowners will ever see again.
Correct. Probably about 100
Right.
years.
Thank you.
Okay,
Maybe in 30 years.
more than,
Mhm.
depends on the species, yeah. Interesting, all right. Any other citizens petitions or concerns, comments?
May I?
Yes,
Thank you. I had my hand. I don't know what it
Oh.
looks like over there. So I just wanted to thank the director and Eric and Todd for what they've been doing as far as putting up with the public health emergency and the steps that they've taken to modify play. It's appreciated. But here's the but, people aren't listening. There are some people that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I saw when I was out on one of my walks, there were people with masks on playing. But, I look out the window and they're constantly just right there, and they're not 6 feet apart, and they're clumped together. And I don't know what you can do. I really don't have a solution, but I just needed you to know that not all the golfers are heeding what's being asked of them. And I just felt I needed to let you guys know that. It's not just a one-time thing. It's every day, all throughout the day. You see people that aren't listening to what you all have requested of them.
Right. There's a certain cross section of people who just in general are not going to be following those kinds of guidelines. And when I see that, I let members and customers know, hey, step away from each other. We have it well posted in the shop.
so are you out on the course, like over on 16, 17, or on 7 or 6? Can you see, or do you have somebody who's keeping an eye on?
No, we have no staff right now.
So this is just a question. What are the consequences to the course, to them, if they do continue to not follow the rules? Do we have a consequence that we can take care of?
Like what?
Like ban them. If you hear about them, ask them to leave the course and not come back until the duration of this thing's over with. I mean, that's better than the alternative
Well,
where
we would first have to have somebody that's able to see the group in order to identify the group and then to ban the group. But we don't have anybody out there to see the group, identify the group, ban the group. At some point, I mean, through this crisis, there is a responsibility on the individual. I mean, Hunter Country Club was shut down 2 weeks ago because somebody went by and there were some guys that had carpooled, whatever. They had 2 groups and they were standing around their car drinking a beer, and that was filmed or taken pictures of, whatever, and they were close to each other. Well, they rode in the same cars, for goodness sake, and the mayor shut them down. I don't know what to tell you, but I mean,
Todd, when do the Rangers come on?
typically the end of the month.
Okay.
But there really isn't, and there isn't the focus of their duties have got to be more looking for that stuff, because we don't have water coolers out there. We don't have, we don't have a lot of the stuff that they are normally doing in their, as a ranger. And they have to be more focused on, I suppose we can move it up, Mark.
Yeah.
Move
Okay.
them up.
And just so that everybody understands, there are only two people working in the pro shop, Todd and Jim. So one
Todd and
works,
Tim.
Tim rather, sorry.
Yeah.
That's it. So there's no extra staff to go out and kind of patrol. I mean, the option they're left with is closing the shop and riding around on the course. And they can't really close the shop because that's where people are checking in. So, but I think we should talk about perhaps moving the Rangers up, you know, because if it's, the mayor, I'm sure, is not the only one that's seeing this. And, you know, with increasing pressure, there's apt to be consequences that would impact both those golfers that aren't following the rules and those
I would
that
say
are.
90% of the people that come to the course, members mostly, but customers as well, are appreciative of our being open. There's probably 10% people that, you know, they don't get it. They don't get it. Massachusetts is shut down. Rhode Island will not let anybody on their golf courses unless they're Rhode Islanders. New York is shut down. We're getting 24 or more calls every single day of Massachusetts people calling and asking, you know, are you open? And yes, we are. So we're actually pretty darn busy. And they're very appreciative of us being available for their recreation activity, which by its nature should be pretty darn good. But to the mayor's point, yep, there are some people that just don't get it.
So this is a privilege, and I would think at some point this town has some responsibility to enforce the rules, right? So we can't just say, hey, there's 10% of people out there who don't get it, because those 10% people could ruin it for everybody else.
Right.
If we're not careful here, because all it takes is somebody else coming along and making that observation, a health department, somebody else, and then they will force us to shut down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's within Tim's or my eyesight, we hit it. But what happens down on 5, I can't tell you. And with the Rangers coming on, it's going to be better, but they can't. You know the nature of the biz. I mean, the Ranger can only be in one spot on 120 acres at a time. So we can do all that we can do, and it's not going to be enough. Hopefully we catch most of it. We remind people when they check in, we remind them it's right on the counter. We remind them of the guidelines. We ask them to be respectful of that.
So
I can tell you that we're doing our job. 10% of the public are not doing their job.
So just so you guys know, when I played a lot of golf this winter, which is a good thing for Dave, but I've seen a lot of people like Todd's talking about that just congregate at a certain spot, either to pick teams or do whatever, okay, and they're inside the 6-foot limit, right? But the other part you see is guys just passing each other. You're on a green or something like that, and you're going pretty much to the same spot. I don't know how crazy you can get with this. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done for sure, but you gotta temper it a little bit based on the golf course activity itself while you're playing golf. In my case, since I'm old and slow, I'm not in anybody's way. Okay, that was a joke. That was a joke, troops. Okay, all right. So, but yeah, there are just some instances where you just can't avoid it.
Yeah, but that's the one thing that gets us in trouble, right? One of the reasons why this activity is being allowed to continue on is because there's an assumption that people will stay away from each other on a space. And so the people come in close because they can't avoid it. that's, I mean, they're shutting down state parks because of that.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how far you want to go. That's all I'm trying to say.
I
Well,
mean,
I can, if I'm asked, I can say that, that at Shennecossett, we're doing yeoman's work trying to get people to do the right thing because we want to stay open. We want to stay open for our members, we want to stay open for our customers, and we have to stay open for our bottom line because it would be a disaster if we were closed. And we all are aware of that. So if asked, we can go down a short list of what we are doing to try to do the right thing. But I don't know, Margaret, how you can,
no,
how
I
you
want the
can,
course to stay open. Trust me.
oh no, I know that you know, I know that you want that, but there are 10% of the golfers are AHs, and they are just, you can tell them something on number 9 green because I see it, and then on number 10 green they're doing the same crap.
So Brad, you were trying to say something?
I think the mayor has her hand up also.
Okay, sorry. Yep.
I've spoken once. Go ahead, Mr. King. I'll come back after you're done.
Oh, sure. Thank you. So I'm in agreement with Margaret that having golf available to us really is a privilege right now. And maybe we can emphasize that a little bit more to our membership. I think Todd and his staff are doing a great job of making it clear what the expectations are and not having anybody out there to police it. I don't know if it would help, but I could certainly commit to sending a message via email to the men's club members and posting something on our new Facebook site, making clear what the expectations are, and also making it clear to them that this really is a privilege. And if we don't want to see it go away, it's imperative that people adhere to these rules strictly and report anybody else that's not adhering to it, or reminding each other out there when they see people lapsing. And maybe people will be inclined more to call out other people on it if they know that this privilege is going to go away if we don't do a better job. I don't know what else to say.
Some people just don't think about it. I mean, people come up to the counter, and we have on the floor a masking tape that shows 6 feet from us and 6 feet from others, and they hang all over the counter, and we're like, please step back. What are you doing? They just, for some people, it just doesn't even register. Frustrating.
I agree.
Mayor Granatosky.
Thank you. I do appreciate what you guys are doing, and I started it with that because you are doing, I think, the best you can in these circumstances. I agree with what Mr. King has said. I think the more publicity, the more you can drive the point home, the better off we are. But going back to Margaret, it is a privilege at this point. And it's not just me who is noticing this. I'm hearing it from a lot of people that are telling me that they are seeing this on the course. And, you know, it's not going to be one person squeaking about it. It's a lot of people that are noticing. And it is very much a privilege. The other golf courses, as you've said, are closed down. And they need to understand that, you know, they may not care, but they're going to carry their vector and they're going to pass it along to other people. And we as a municipality can't have that. So they have to appreciate that they're, you know, being given this opportunity to play this lovely course. Todd, what you said, have you been in CVS lately? What they did was put a table in front of the register. So you physically cannot get to the register. You have to like literally stretch across to reach to the person. So the table in front of you, stand that way they don't breathe on you. But thank you. I didn't mean to cause a lot of consternation here, but I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware that people are noticing that the customers are not, the players are not complying. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, the golf course report.
Well, I know that you all know that there's an ebb and flow as far as the membership sales, depending upon the weather, depending upon when they come back up, depending upon a lot of different things. So, but if you look at the greens fees and cart fees, we did very well compared with last year. Basically 10K more. The season pass sales were lagging. We've seen a lot of them. They're not due until April 1. But I can tell you that as of today, we have 85 members and 37 new members. That's big. So anyway, so we should see a really big month coming up this month, because the memberships will catch up.
So, all right, let's say for some reason we're not back to normal until May 15th, June 1st, hopefully 1st. What are the plans and contingencies around modifying the season for 2020?
I've had a couple of questions about members who are questioning whether they're going to join. What happens if we happen to close? And I said, well, I have not had any kind of discussion with the Golf Advisory Board or with the Golf Commission. But I would think that if that were the case, then there would be the issuance of a credit for the next season for the time of the closure. And I told those two returning members, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm optimistic. But yeah, that's going to be something that we're going to have to talk about. What happens if we're closed for 2 months? Well, you can't, and we're into season right now.
But not even closed. What if you're still in this restricted play? Like, for example.
Well, we're doing things. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
For example, you're not allowing carts art. You have older members who can't play or don't play without the use of a cart. So their ability to play is kind of limited at this point versus, anybody else who can get out there and walk and do what they need to do. So it's not so much that, it's closed, but you've got kind of a limited structure going on right now that potentially impacts someone's ability to play.
Right. So there are a handful of golfers, I suppose, that we could entertain the idea that if a doctor just says Joe Jones must, if he's going to play, he must take a cart, and for the period of time that we are not running carts, we could entertain the idea of a credit. You can do that. I've also heard, because I'm online and I'm looking at what other courses are doing, and some courses are doing medical exemptions, allowing carts for medical use, and that's very controllable, as opposed to just 4 Joe six-pack guys that 2 of them take solo carts and the other 2 walk, but then on the turn you see all 4 of them in the cart. That's the reason why we're not running carts. But we could entertain the idea of a medical exemption for a solo rider, and the people that need to ride, and I could tell you 6 right off the top of my head, but that would be very appreciated, and they're not going to abuse that. You know, they're not going to let somebody, if I say, you know, the town is letting you do this, you cannot have somebody in your cart with you. And so that could be a good workaround. We just really haven't talked about it. This is all new to everybody.
Okay, so I'm just asking the question so that we can start having the conversation. Any thought in delaying the season until May 1st and running this year, May 1st to April 1st next year? Instead of, or till May 1st next year and then recycling back in a year. I mean, it just feels like everybody is in this boat of their world and of being kind of upside down. The other problem is you also have people who are quarantined to their house. They need to stay at the home. So why would we impact their rates? So I'm just trying to think, and maybe, I don't know, Brad or Cindy or Dave, some other ideas around how to rethink the season this year. I mean, for the women, we may not even be able to start May 1st. We may have to wait because we've got folks all over the place that need to come back, and will be quarantined 14 days when they come back. So, you know, what are we thinking about in terms of modifying our season this year? If anything, I mean, and the answer, Todd, may be, hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles and we're not going to make any adjustments. And that's fine too.
Well, I never liked that kind of response to anything.
Okay.
We make the cookie.
There you go. So I'm just looking.
Hey, Margaret, Gary has his hand up.
Okay, sorry. Keep going back and forth. I can't see Todd if I look at him.
That's okay. It's on the committee meetings, I couldn't figure out how to get my hand up. So I figured that out. I had to just speak up. Something that, one possibility, one thing to think about is we do have family memberships, and some of these people hanging out together actually live in the same household, like husbands and wives. They would be out playing, and it would seem that would be able to share a cart or hang out or go arm in arm down the fairway. In fact, people observing and saying, look at those people standing close together. They may, in fact, live in the same house. So, jump to too many conclusions. Thank you.
Hey, Cindy, go ahead.
Hey, Brad, you're on mute. You're trying to say something.
Thanks,
Oh, I don't-
Margaret. I have thought about that. You know, how do we know when it's not a father and son or a husband and wife out there? There are those cases out there. So it's just something to think about when we're making the observations. Maybe we tell those people you have to practice the same thing as well, just for the sake of everybody and being in practice. And I don't know. Now, when Gary mentioned that, it made me think of that. I was thinking about that earlier. It's a good point.
Yes. Okay. I'm. Okay, so Cindy, yeah. So Cindy's pointing out that a lot of the women don't return until May, and then once they do, they're going to need to self-quarantine. So she is suggesting that perhaps something started mid-May. I guess my question to her is, well, how are the women different than the men? I mean,
I don't know. They're the same.
yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. So, you know, we need to start thinking about, because we don't know how long this is going to go. We need to start coming up with a plan. Okay, what's it going to look like if it's May 1st? What's it going to look like if it's June 1st? And have have a plan in place and be ready to implement it versus not making any kind of plan. And then all of a sudden we're, running around not knowing what we're going to do.
I think that sounds fair. This is, I mean, by no means is this an easy situation for anybody. I mean, the whole world is having to adjust and readjust and think of different ways of operating. So, but, and Todd, really do appreciate everything that's been going on. We're very lucky to have the course open, that's for sure. So just want to make sure that we think this all the way through to when we get back to normal play.
Margaret, when does the women's club tournament schedule start? When is your first tournament?
Memorial Day.
What's that?
May 25th or 6th.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was just thinking about your proposal, or just something to think about with changing the season duration, maybe making it a month later. I know I just looked at our men's club schedule. Our first tournament, the spring ABCD, is Sunday, April 26th.
Oh yeah, our ABCD is around then as well, typically.
Okay.
No, around May 17th. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We don't. The ladies' season doesn't start until May 1st.
I hadn't thought about that before you proposed it. Todd, do you have any thoughts on that? Altering the season pass time frame without, that way we're not touching the cost of the season?
Right. Well, I mean, we have some leeway. We have a couple months before the end of the fiscal year. So, I mean, if you want to discuss pushing back the time of payment to, beginning May 1st, or have it run to next May 1st, whatever, give our members a month anyway. From a fiscal standpoint, we still get our money before the end of the fiscal year. So it's not going to be impactful from our bottom line, and it could be something that would be regarded by our membership as, well, they're doing something for us anyway.
Right.
Yep, that would be even that.
So,
would
I
be,
mean, I'm open to that.
Because I know
We have a couple.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know some people are a little on the fence about committing to their season pass right now because they're questioning, how much of a season am I going to have? Is the men's club schedule going to start before I even know what the heck is going on? So, yeah, that may be a demonstration then that we're really. Go ahead.
We have some guys that are out of work.
Yeah.
And they've asked me. I should have brought it up under correspondence now that we're talking about it, but they're out of work. They're bartenders. They work in the restaurant biz, and they've asked, is there any leeway? And right now it's kind of an informal. Couple of people are going to try to get payment to me in a week or two, whatever, but we can entertain that idea. I think that it would be something that would go a long way if we said, if you're impacted on this whole shutdown, we can work with you. We don't want to lose their money. We don't want to lose. I feel for these people. I don't want to be callous about it, but I mean, we want them to be taken care of, and we want them to be members. That's so maybe pushing back to May 1, see what happens. Might be a good thing to do that would go quite a ways.
I think a lot of people would appreciate that good faith measure.
yeah, absolutely. And I think having a contingency plan for mid-May and June 1st would also be kind of a good idea at this point. Just in case, so that we don't have to, like, if it happens, we already have kind of know what we're gonna do, and it's just really easy to roll it out instead of
Right.
having to scramble to think about it again. That sounds like a great idea, Todd. Actually.
So in light of that, unless anybody else has any other discussion about it, I'd like to make a motion to extend the deadline from April 1st to May 1st.
And have it go to the following May 1st.
Correct.
I was going to mention that the federal and state income taxes have just deferred payments until July 15th. So pushing payments ahead seems to be a normal way to do things. It's not unreasonable to delay something.
So I made the motion. Is there anything else that has to happen?
So I need a second.
I second the motion.
Any other discussion? Cindy?
No, Cindy said no.
Okay. I had the right question. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Cindy said aye.
Okay. Opposed? All right, motion carries. So that works. Thank you.
Do you want to act on the idea of a medical exemption for cart use? Do we want to talk about that?
Do you have the resources to disinfect those carts after every use?
We have sanitary wipes that it's posted right behind the counter.
Now it needs to, doesn't it need to be an employee that does that?
Well, when we were running carts, when this first started, we told everyone who was taking the cart that they need to take some wipes right there and make sure that their common touch areas on the cart are wiped down. So no, it wasn't on staff. We only have one person on until we bring the rangers on. We can bring them in earlier, but it's not possible for the person who's answering the phones, taking money, running the tea to also wipe down every cart that goes out. No.
So you may be stuck without using the carts for a little longer. But if we move it to May 1st, that should give people a little bit of,
Yes. Yep. I agree.
hope.
So Todd, moving the season pass payment date to May 1st, would that also mean that everybody's getting an extra month out of last year's membership? So instead of it going to March 31st?
Effectively, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear.
Actually, 2 months, one on the front side, one on the back side. Right?
And I think that's a nice thing to do.
I do too.
Okay.
Mark, are you good with that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we've got to do something. And I think that, you know, at some point we're going to have to figure where this all gets caught up, you know, because, yeah, we're just going to need to figure out how we're going to get
Right,
ourselves caught back up at some point.
All of it is unknowable.
Right.
And we may have to revisit, you know, the idea to do something more. We don't even know where we're going here
Right.
at this point.
Yep.
So Todd, where the rates are at $35 right now?
Correct. 20 for 9 holes.
Okay. I mean, and this is, most other courses or a lot of other courses are shut down. So this is all kind of bonus revenue as well. So maybe we need to take a look at it.
We've been jamming, very busy, yes.
So keeping track of this. quarantine level income, just to see if that is helping or closing the gap, Mark.
Yeah, well, what has hurt us is our memberships are not where they were last year for a number of different reasons.
Mhm.
And so that's, we were tracking, I think, close to 100,000 ahead of last year, and now we're down to about 60,000 ahead of last year. So, those folks that are kind of taking a waiting to see, or they're in Florida or Arizona or whatever, and are not coming back, those are hurting us.
Yeah, but this May 1st thing may help out a lot.
Sure. Yep.
A goodwill gesture. Okay, not better. I'll come back and pay on May 1st and go.
Right. Oh, Eric's got his hand up.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I don't think it's a fair statement to say that most courses are closed right now. I think a very good majority of the courses in the state are actually open.
Okay.
Maybe not so
I've
much in
only
Fairfield County.
know of three public courses that have been closed. Maybe some of the private clubs aren't open yet. They're not opening, but there are a fair amount of courses that are open.
Okay, cool. I stand corrected. Okay. Anything else on the golf course report? Thank you. Marketing report?
So I had Jessica put together kind of a summary report of what she had done for the month of March on social media. And there was a number of different posts. Some of them were talking about the fact that we were open, kind of outlining the protocol that we were using, but we also put in the thread of the different promotions, trying to identify some of the perceptions that we got from the National Golf Foundation report last year that were barriers to some people participating in golf, or their perceptions of golf that, one, golfing isn't that healthy. So we focused on, we had a post where we talked about the the value and the benefits of golf to your health. We also talked about, the fact that it isn't super expensive. We talked about the fact that it's good for the environment and mentioned the Operation Pollinator. We also did a post on the fact that, there's this perception that golf is kind of stuffy and that you have to, get all dressed up. And we, posted something out that, in fact, the dress code for golf has changed over the years, and it's not quite as formal. So we were trying to, and most of these were paid ads, and the report shows that we reached quite a few people for the cost of $35. So we tried to promote the value and the benefits to golf coming from a number of different angles and breaking down some of those perceptions of golf. And we're continuing to promote golf at Shennecossett and membership and the value of membership. We're continuing to do that this month. And these are all targeted ads to people that have self-identified as golfers or liking golf or, being outside. And I think the target range was 18 to 65, and we went with a 30-mile radius from Shennecossett. So it went up into Rhode Island and as far down as, well, I'm not sure what 30 miles south of Shennecossett would be, but it was a rather large area.
Was there one that seemed to resonate a little bit more than the others? Sorry, I'm off my iPhone here. It's okay if not.
Yeah, I think it looks like, well, the highest
The number 6 post
engaging
was popular.
ad was that Shenny is open and the golf course protocol.
Okay.
You know, I think at that point there was courses were closing down, so there was a lot of interest in what courses were open. So
Right.
I think that's what drew a lot of people to, you know, engage in that particular promotion. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is last month was also Women's History Month, and we did a post on some of the famous golfers that had played at Shennecossett. And that actually got a fairly high reach also.
Yeah, I think those were pretty popular.
Yeah, yep.
I know I shared them, and then a number of my friends shared them on. So I thought that was good.
Oh, I know.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Mark.
Sure.
Any
Just
questions?
shut it off then.
Okay. Summary of the fiscal year end 2021 for the golf course.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little, update folks on the budget. We have presented the budget to both the town council and the RTM subcommittee. And this Saturday, we go in front of well, it's all virtual now, but the full RTM will be meeting on Saturday. So the operating budgets, there's been no change to the golf course operating budget, no cuts. That's moving forward as we had proposed. The biggest changes came in the area of the CIPs. So those are the larger projects that come in over $25,000. We had originally proposed, based on the town manager's suggestion, a 5-year plan to cover all the work that needed to be done. And that figure for this year was like $415,000. The town manager cut it down to $200,000, and the council and both the RTM subcommittee have zeroed that out. So there is no money allocated for projects at the golf course next year. Additionally, there was money budgeted for landscaping to try to finish up the work that was started a number of years ago, or started but never completed. And that's kind of replacing plantings outside and around the clubhouse. That money was cut. There was money in there for asbestos mitigation in the basement. That money was cut. And the money for the study for an ADA compliant bathroom, that money was cut also. The only money remaining in the CIP is $140,000 for HVAC for par 4. And that was done primarily because in the lease agreement that the town signed with par 4, there was a promise that the HVAC would be taken care of, I think, within 2 years. So what looked originally as a very promising fiscal year for us in 2021 has now turned around significantly. And that's pretty much where we are with the budget. And I'm not expecting the full RTM to put any money back in.
What? Wow. I think this is stunned silence, Mike.
Yeah. Gary's got his hand up.
Oh, Gary.
Yeah, it takes a 2/3 vote to override the council. So that's only happened once, and that was with an unfortunate cut to the Board of Ed when the council got buffaloed into thinking something wasn't happening, and at another meeting changed their mind twice. And the room was full of people supporting restoring the original Ed budget. So we're not going to get any 2/3 votes for anything, to be honest with you. I'm hoping we might be able to just vote the whole council budget in one shot at the beginning of the meeting and all go home or unplug. And it would be done because I was talking to Councilor Heed and he said that everything that the committees by and large just approved everything that the council sent down. That's all I know about that.
So is it this subcommittee that, okay, basically made these recommendations this way?
Yeah, the subcommittee, the Parks and Rec subcommittee essentially approved the recommendation of the proposed cuts that
Yeah.
both the town manager and the council had made.
Okay. So the one question I have, funny enough, is on the ADA compliant bathrooms.
Mhm.
Does that just in some way, shape, or form, please get pushed off by 1 year? I mean, those bathrooms are about to fall apart, in my opinion.
Mhm.
The doors are in really bad shape. So I don't know if there's some maintenance that can be done, but getting to those ADA compliant bathrooms, I would think would be important for the town at some point.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that. Hopefully next year, the conditions will be, the situation will be different, and there'll be support for, not that there probably wasn't support for it this year. I'm sure that all the councilors and those on the RTM subcommittee feel that, meeting ADA compliance is absolutely essential. Just given the current situation that we're in, and trying to be sensitive to the fact that there are a number of people that aren't drawing a paycheck right now. They took all the steps to try to minimize the impact to the residents.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with all. I was just hoping out of all of everything that was said, I know it's very disappointing, but at least the women's rooms, I don't go in the men's rooms, but they're failing fast.
Yeah. The mayor has her hand up.
Go ahead, Mayor Granatosky.
Thank you. I just didn't know if you wanted to ask anything. I was just going to, in response to Margaret, yes, it is looked at pushing these things off for a year. Hopefully we will be in a better situation then, but as Representative Wells knows, we didn't even fund the bridge that the fire chief says is a necessity. I was in the minority on that, by the way. Yeah, there's a lot of things in here that I think in a normal year would have been fine, but this is not a normal year.
No, and fully understanding of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. And Eric and Todd, thank you for all your efforts in trying to get what was a nice proposal through the door. Really do appreciate it. I know that took a lot of work. So something to look forward to next year then. Okay. And next item of business, women's player incentive programs.
Yeah, Margaret, you asked me where this came from, and I thought that we had discussed this, kicked around the idea at the last meeting, but I think the thought was, is there some things that we can do to try to increase the number of women players? And I'm not sure if you have any suggestions or have seen what other courses are doing that, we might be able to implement in order to attract more women players.
So I would say in a normal year, I'll start with so a couple of the public courses that I do follow, they're kicking off right now. You know, I think it's a 6-hour program, Todd, the PGA offers to get yourself up and running and playing golf. So doing that now.
Get golf ready.
Get golf ready. So a couple of the courses that I follow, like I said, are kicking those off for women right now. I see some activity around things along those lines. I think, oh boy. I mean, obviously we have the Women's Golf Association, but no, I think the biggest one is getting those kind of teaching or clinic type situations where people can come out and kind of work on their game and feel a little bit less uncomfortable before they go out and play. And then we've talked about and we focused on, so there are women who are members of the course who are not members of the Women's Golf Association. So they come out and play and happy to see them. I think there's more of them than we think. When I started to add up the women that I know of who come out and play who aren't members, the numbers start to get up there a little bit. So I think that's good. I'd have to think about it because I thought I didn't honestly, but that, you know, primarily just getting things going now, not waiting until the summer. By then the season's well on its way and a lot of women aren't looking to start there. There may be some other more social or business oriented programs we could consider. So women in business in the area, maybe having some sort of social and talk about the use of golf in business and trying to find ways along those lines to get women kind of brought in and more involved. I see some of that going on more and more. So it's not just men who are going out as part on business to play, but also women who can get involved to be able to play and do business on the course and feel comfortable doing business on the course. I don't know. I'll open it up to the rest of the committee if you have any ideas.
I think the level of women's golf has been flatlined for years and years, and it's, I mean, for a number of years I did learn to play with a friend, and I it was a series of 6. It was much like what the PGA is doing with Get Golf Ready, but it was my program, and I would bring people, friends in who haven't touched a club, and on the first lesson and on the 6th lesson we were playing a couple holes. Boy, oh boy, it reminds me of the same kind of question about how do we get the kids involved absent a Tiger bounce. Boy, oh boy, we have to do something in the golf industry, and the PGA is trying and we're trying. Boy, oh boy, I'd like to think that there was a magic wand that we could go ahead and get the kids interested and get lady golfers interested. It's a hard game to get into, and boy, that's a really good question right there.
So as of in a report from September last year, girls are the fastest growing group of people in golf. There were 60,000 girls last year playing in the LPGA USGA girls golf program.
I'm talking about who we see at the golf course. The Connecticut Junior Golf Association does a fantastic job and is very vibrant. And there are a lot of kids that get involved. I was more thinking about about the young lady professional who's in business, who's starting a career, and boy, it would be great to get her out with a friend, but we don't see a lot of that.
Well, I don't think it's one of those things that, you know, you just have to rely on them coming. You have to go out and find them, I think, in some cases. So the question is, where can we go find them in the area? You have a bunch of folks at Electric Boat, Pfizer. So, you know, I mean, I think if we wait for people to come to us, it may never happen.
There's a Pfizer golf league, ladies golf league. There's a EB ladies golf league. They have 1 tee time per week.
That's because the Pfizer one plays at Pequot.
Well,
And
how many are there?
there's a dozen or so of them.
There's a group of Pfizer gals that come out. 1 tee time per week.
Right, but
There must be another.
there is at Pequot.
Okay.
The mayor has her hand up.
Okay. Sorry, Mary Granatosky.
Thank you. You kind of answered my point that I was going to raise. There's an organization at EB called Women in Defense. It's not only EB, but it's all women that work for the subcontractors as well. And they're very active, and they have a new group of young professional women that are really starting to fill the ranks of that organization. And that might be something that you may have already tapped that resource already. But that was my thought as you all were talking.
I know our community outreach coordinator, Jessica, knows somebody at EB that we might be able to use her as a conduit to reach this particular group. And I know she also has a contact at Pfizer that we perhaps could utilize to reach more business professional women.
And if Jessica can't reach anybody, I can put you in touch with a woman that's actually a neighbor here in Eastern Point. So let me know if you need a contact.
Oh, terrific. Okay, thanks.
Along those lines, I'm happy to make an effort on the EB front as well. I work there. I am familiar with the EB Women in Defense organization. I could certainly reach out if you'd like me to, unless you'd like Jessica to do that first.
Yeah, let's see what inroads Jessica can make. And
Very good.
if we run into a stone wall, we'll set up an insider.
Sounds good.
Thank you for the offer.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So that's all right. So Mark, we made an agenda item out of that.
All right.
Okay. Any other comments before we close the meeting? I think I've got it right. No, I'm sorry. Being without internet, not helpful. So the next meeting is in May, June.
I think it's May 4th.
That's the first Monday anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I will double check and let folks know.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Cindy?
Yeah, she said yes.
Okay. All right. So thank you guys very much for the meeting. That's the end of the meeting.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
You too.
This works pretty well though, Mark, I think.
Yes, you did an excellent job.
It was, everybody did. This was good. We'll work
Yes.
on technical issues.
Okay,
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
thank
Good night.
you.
You as well.
Okay,
Good
good night.
night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Thanks. I finally got my gadgets working.